More than 1,000 miles away from these protests, leaders of another Middle East power watch with enthusiasm. Iran's parliament speaker says the time has reached to overcome puppet autocratic regimes by relying on the Islamic teachings. Experts say Iran's leaders would welcome the downfall of the Mubarak regime, widely seen as perhaps their most bitter arch-rival in the region.
How does Iran stand to benefit from what's going on in Egypt right now?
There's nothing that Iran wants more than instability in the Middle East, particularly among the autocratic leaders, even if they're Sunni autocratic leaders. Why? Because they hope that eventually these leaders will have to give way to a more Islamist-oriented political establishments that may or may not be interested in aligning themselves with Iran, but at least are no longer aligned with the United States.
According to experts and Western diplomatic sources we interviewed, Iran has agents inside most Middle East countries.
The mistrust between Iranian leaders and Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak is poisonous. This 2009 U.S. diplomatic cable posted on WikiLeaks says Mubarak and his advisors are now convinced that Tehran is working to weaken Egypt through creation of Hezbollah cells, support of the Muslim Brotherhood, and destabilization of Gaza.
The Muslim Brotherhood, once very militant, now more political, is an opposition group in Egypt which gave birth to the Hamas movement. Hamas, the major power in Gaza, a dangerous threat to Israel and supported by Iran, is considered a terrorist group by the U.S. But experts are divided about possible connections between Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood.
I'm not sure that Iran has much of a foothold in Egypt through the Muslim Brotherhood. I don't see any evidence of that.
But there are plenty of other tensions. Mubarak has worked hard to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, and they're rivals on another key front.
Does this instability in Egypt also benefit Iran from an oil producing and shipping standpoint?
Absolutely. Unrest in Egypt has already bolstered oil prices, and they've gone above $100 per barrel. And who does that benefit? That benefits Iran. Iran earns 80% of its hard currency earnings from crude oil revenues.
Afshin Molavi says more instability in Egypt is a best-case scenario economically for Iran. He points out Iran is facing what he calls grave uncertainties in its economy right now. He says if Egypt continues to boil and oil prices continue to rise, Iran's leaders would use that to mask some of their economic problems. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.